Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to present the oligometastatic breast cancer data from our institute, that is the Tata Memorial Center, Mumbai, from India. As we already know, India sees about 22 lakh 60,000 cases a year of breast cancer a year. And a small proportion of that, nearly 5,000 new breast cancer patients are seen at Tata Memorial Center every year. When we see stage-wise distribution among these 5,000 patients, nearly 45 to 50% are operable breast cancer, nearly 40% are locally advanced breast cancer, 10% are metastatic, whereas only 2 to 4% are oligometastatic. In our institution, we restrict the number for oligometastatic sites to be under 5, just as the ABC and the ASTRO-ISTRO consensus guideline. We do not restrict any organ as long as the lesion is well defined. Synchronous metastases are defined those that are diagnosed within 3 months, whereas metachronous are beyond 3 months. We further subdivide bones or bone metastases into spine versus non-spine bone metastases, and visceral metastases that are usually encountered are liver, lung, brain, node, and others. This particular data is courtesy NITA, where we've seen year-wise increase in the number of oligometastases that were diagnosed at Tata Memorial Center, a small dip in 2020, perhaps due to the pandemic. And on the right, you can see a bar chart of patients that have been accrued in the registry of oligometastases, where you can see year on year, the numbers were increasing, where 2019 saw the maximum number of cases of more than 160, whereas we had a sharp dip because of COVID in 2020 and 2021. Among imaging modalities used for OBC, we are fairly clear that only large inner quadrant disease needs metastatic workup, where a CECT scan is done, or those with high-risk node-positive disease. All locally advanced breast cancers undergo some metastatic workup like CECT, thorax, abdomen, and pelvis with technetium bone scan or FDG PET CT scan. Brain-directed imaging is done only in symptomatic patients. Additional imaging is ordered if the lesions seen on pre-existing imaging are equivocal or the entire extent of the disease cannot be discerned. Biopsy is optional and usually a clinical judgment, and it's critical for equivocal lesions. Biopsy is usually preferred for visceral metastases like lung or mediastinal nodes, especially in a country like India with endemic granulomatous disease, and in some cases of liver metastases as well. Our preferred treatment modalities for oligometastatic sites are for bone that is spine and non-spine bone. We try and use stereotactic body radiation therapy wherever we can, or in some cases, high-dose conventionally fractionated radiation therapy. Surgery is preferred when you have epidural spinal disease, whereas, or if you have mechanically unstable spine or fracture, which is impacting the function. Among visceral metastases, for lung metastases, SBRT or metastasectomy. For liver, RFA or SBRT, and rarely metastasectomy has been performed. For brain metastases that are either solitary or isolated, we prefer surgery followed by cavity SRS or SRT alone. For lesions larger than 3 centimeter, SRS alone can be used as SRT can be used. And for nodes, surgical excision followed by radiation therapy. And for other sites, it's usually an individualized multidisciplinary setup and decision that is taken. Treating the primary and the nodal metastases, that means what about the locoregional therapy? So locoregional therapy goes on as planned per stage. So just because the patient has oligometastatic disease does not mean that the local therapy changes at all. The sequence of the local therapy or locoregional therapy can change depending upon how symptomatic the oligometastatic site is. So coming to the main data, data is collated as part of our ambisPACTIV registry from about September 2017 till date. Consecutive patients are taken in this particular database, and we've taken around 432 patients, where 311 had synchronous metastases, whereas 121 with metachronous metastases, with 665 sites of disease, where 454 sites were synchronously seen and 211 were metachronous. 48 years was the age median. Obviously, there were more females as compared to males. Here, it's interesting to note that Nearly 80% of our patients had locally advanced breast cancer in synchronous cohort, whereas 50% of them had advanced disease in the metachronous setting. And similarly, you can see that only 54% of our patients had node N0 to N1 stage, whereas 64.5% had N0 to N1 stage in the metachronous setting. When we see the distribution per the receptor status, ERPR positive group formed around 74% of our synchronous metastases. HER2 positive were 26%, triple negative were about 15%. Similarly, we also see no difference in the IHC distribution in the metachronous setting. Coming to the site of oligometastases, we see that a large majority of our patients had oligometastases to the bone, and nearly 70% had oligometastases to the bone. Among these, you can see that spine metastases were seen in 40%, rest of them were non-spine bone metastases. Among visceral sites, you can see about a third of the patients had visceral metastases. But it is important to note, in our metachronous cohort, 50% had visceral disease. Here you can see that among the treatment characteristics, nearly 65% of our patients, 70% of our patients received neoadjuvant chemotherapy in the synchronous metastases. In the metachronous setting, only 20% had received some form of salvage systemic therapy for downstaging the metastatic disease. Surgery was performed in around 80% of our patients. We had about 10% missing data in terms of surgery and radiation therapy to the locoregional site. In terms of oligometastatic directed therapy, we can see that 80% received radical therapy in the synchronous setting, and in the metachronous setting, nearly 90% and over received radical therapy. SBRT was delivered in around 50% or 56% of patients in synchronous setting, whereas 79% of our patients received SBRT in the metachronous setting. Conventionally fractionated high-dose radiation was used in about 12% of our patients, and surgery followed by radiation was used in a minority. Here you can see a large proportion of our cases received systemic therapy alone, that is 16.3% in the synchronous setting, whereas 7.5% did not receive any therapy. And this is a cohort that are usually the patients that default treatment, that means take either partial treatment or no treatment at all, and perhaps prefer to take treatment at local places. Coming to the outcome data, overall survival was defined as date of detection of oligometastasis to the date of death from any cause. Progression was defined from similarly up to the date of progression at any site or death. Oligometastatic local site control was defined up to the from the date of treatment to the date of local metastatic site progression. Here you can see that we had 60 patients have died in our cohort, and the 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year overall survival was encouraging at 92, 83, and 81% in the synchronous setting, whereas it was slightly lower at 88, 78, and 67% in the metachronous setting. Similarly, when looking at the progression-free survival, we had about 110 events, 63 in the synchronous setting and 47 in the metachronous setting. The 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year PFS for the synchronous group was 86, 73, and 69%, whereas it was slightly lower, or rather significantly lower at 77, 54, and 38% in the metachronous setting. And as you can remember, in the patient and tumor characteristics, 50% of our metachronous OMBCs were visceral metastases, and these may actually contribute to the poorer outcome. The local metastatic site control was excellent. As you can see, more than 95% control was seen in the synchronous setting even at 3 years. And in the metachronous setting, it was around 87%. However, I would like to note, to bring to your attention that the follow-up imaging policy is that we image these patients for a response scan once, and then subsequently it's a symptom-directed imaging. And therefore, these are not results of an image-based follow-up. Treatment-related complications, we've had a few. 10 patients had vertebral spinal cord compression fracture. And we had about 20 patients with a pain flare, bringing our pain flare rates to about 6.25%. We did not note any other grade 3 or above toxicity, and no deaths were recorded in SBRT. Pain response was incompletely captured, and this needs to be addressed. So in summary, we started a registry which has captured retrospective and prospective data. The retrospective data has its own biases. Most of the patients undergo radical therapy if they are taking treatment at Tata Memorial Center. It's been found to be safe and effective as compared to the historical cohort. We do have some heterogeneity in our management, but we will be able to answer more questions with better clarity if we expand the cohort with more collaboration with all of you all. I'd like to acknowledge the wholehearted support of our head of department, Dr. J.P. Agarwal, in starting a stereotactic program. Dr. Rajiv Sareen, who actually encouraged and was the main person behind my back and helped me further this particular type of treatment. Dr. Tabassum and Dr. Revati have also contributed equally to this endeavor. Our breast DMG members, every one of them, because it's a team effort, and a special thanks to Dr. Sneha Shah, Dr. Palak, and Dr. Aparna, because they are the backbone of our imaging. All the residents of our unit, Ms. Ashwini and Dr. Gayatri for data, and our patients. Thank you.